All right, it's 4:30 on the money, and it's Wednesday, May 8th. We're doing this live, um, and I'm here, Rogelio Rodriguez, Vida Properties EXP Realty on the podcast, talking real estate, talking loans, talking credit, anything having to do with shopping, buying, selling a home. And I got Martin with Excel Funding. How's it going, man?
Going pretty well, and yourself?
We're good, man. We're still in the Cinco de Mayo mode, sort of.
All right.
It's at that weekend. Um, and yeah, there's some things not going so well. And the Avs won. Denver they just kind of didn't show up this last time. But we talked about that last time a little bit in the playoffs going on.
Oh yeah,
Sports fans.
Felt bad. Yeah, it was a bad Monday.
But man, so we had the thumbnail up, buying for under $1,000. So you're the lender, I'm in real estate, and I think this topic is something that people think about. That it is possible, because you hear a lot of people promoting it. It's like, is it really true? And if so, like, what are the strings attached? Because there's always strings attached, right? And is it a benefit or not? Does it make sense? So that's what we're going to talk about. So right off the bat, really what we're talking about is down payment assistance programs, because guess what? Unless you have a loan product that is a truly 100% loan, which they're out there also, right?
Yes.
Normally you're going to have these FHA loans. FHA requires 3.5%. Conventional, normally like a typical is 5% down, but you can fill the gap with these down payment assistance programs. So first of all, let's define what are down payment assistance programs, like with capital letters.
Down payment assistance programs, they are, like you had said, they are a gap for that down payment. They come in different programs, such as a silent second. They do come in as a second that you pay during the payment process, and sometimes they come in grants.
Okay, explain what a grant is.
Well, of course, a grant is a amount of money that the lender will give you, and it is either forgiven or it is something that's just gifted to you by the lender or by a certain program.
Okay, so basically there's some of these down payment programs where it's actually a loan and you have to pay back, or it is just a grant where right off the bat you don't have to pay anything back, or it's to where there's some kind of contingency to it that if you fulfill that, like staying in the home for so many years, it's basically forgivable. So there's variations on what these, what the requirements are, right?
There are variations. I do have a loan that through one of our lenders that gets forgiven pretty much immediately. There is a loan that if you're in the house for about 3 years, the gift will be forgiven.
Okay. In fact, I have a client now that they just had 3 years come up on living in their home, and so that assistance program or that assistance loan should be dropped off, forgiven. What are the some of the typical questions that come up when people ask about down payment programs? Usually they call it first-time homebuyer programs, because that's what they ask. I hear that more than down payment assistance. They hear, can I qualify for a first-time homebuyer program? And they don't even know what that means.
Well, there is a difference between a first-time homebuyer program and there is a difference between down payment assistance program.
Right. So let's go over that.
So first-time homebuyer programs, they're usually the the conventional loan, home-ready, home-style programs, based on Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae. Those programs, instead of putting 3.5% down, or on a conventional normally is 5% down, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, through the Home Ready, Home Possible program, which are the first-time home buyer programs, you only put 3% down. You could get 100% gifted. Your rates are lower than a regular conventional, and your mortgage insurance is lower compared to regular conventional. So it was a way for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to kind of, in a sense, compete with FHA, because FHA is looked at as like a first-time home buyer program, um, for the most part, and but they're a lot cheaper. They're cheaper. They try to help out with lower down payments and things of that nature. Now the difference going over to down payment assistance programs, that's when an individual needs help for their down payments.
Okay, so there's some basically where you don't have to necessarily be a first time home buyer and you can still have some of these programs.
Correct. So like for the down payment assistance, some of these programs they'll be like, hey, as long as you don't own another house, we could go ahead and give you down payment assistance.
Okay, and then just a reminder, FHA, that's a government backed uh, loan that typically has sort of like a lower bar to qualify as far as credit scores and maybe some income and things like that, right?
Correct. So yeah, credit scores, they you have a little bit of a challenging credit score. You'd be approved through FHA. It's one of my favorite loans just because it's very easy to underwrite. As long as we have our ducks in a row, FHA is a good loan.
Okay, so getting back to the title of this, and by the way, if you didn't know, kind of put some content out there. Make sure to subscribe, to share, and follow. Whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, and then just you're able to find just Rogelio, and there's my website, and then you also have Martin as well. So just gonna hit that up. It really helps us a lot. So going back to the title, buying for under $1,000, and I have to
Yes.
explain this because on the real estate side, you need more than $1,000. I'll tell you that. But at the end of the day, how much you end up keeping could be that you do not spend more than $1,000. So from my end, first of all, you need to have the earnest money. So that's the money to set aside the like a home when it goes under contract.
Mhm.
And there's nowadays nothing under $3,000. Most of the things I see are closer to $5,000, even more than that for the earnest money. So you need
Correct.
to have that, but it's funds that are credited. It's not a fee. So it's basically an upfront deposit, and it'll be credited towards your down payment and or closing costs.
Correct.
So if so, technically speaking, if we don't have all those closing costs and there's a down payment assistance, you can get most of that back. So that's on the real estate end. What are the requirements as far as how much out of pocket the buyer would have to come up with when using a down payment program?
Some of the out of pocket stuff would be like your inspection, of course. You do say that you have your earnest money, your appraisal would be out of pocket. Some lenders though, we they will credit that towards your down payment. So then it's included in your down payment that you use for the loan. So, by I did have a real life experience where one of my clients, they actually put $1,000 down. They put $1,000 down for earnest money. This happened probably back in March of this year. They put $1,000, and of course, having a very good realtor, Rogelio, negotiating with the sellers, were able to get enough concession for closing. I helped out to get down payment assistance program. At the end of the day, when we came to closing, my client put down $1,000, got a check back for about $550. So they essentially
Right,
bought their house for $450,
right.
which was great. A
Yeah.
beautiful young couple. Their family is dealt very well in real estate. They wanted to do the same thing. They're doing it on their own, and we're already gonna be looking for other homes down the road.
By the way, so when we talked about like first time home conversions, that was the last session that we had. But so if you're looking, let's say a purchase of $400,000, normally you're looking at if it's 3%, 3.5%, you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000 down payment. Then maybe another $8,000 to $12,000 in closing costs. So that would be like, let's say, between $20,000 to $25,000 out of pocket. It's a huge difference with having $1,000. Well, part of it is it depends on the situation with the home. If the home was, let's say, listed at higher, they've come down, or the seller just willing to credit some of the monies that they're getting, that they're netting from the sale back to the buyer to make it happen, then that's where the buyer can save a lot of money in the with closing costs. Sometimes this happens also through negotiating with inspection items, and in lieu of having some of those repairs done, the seller may credit some of those costs back to the buyer, which then would be applied towards the closing costs. And then if you couple that with a down payment program, which again, we haven't talked about how you can also stack some of these down payment programs, right?
There's a couple programs that you can stack.
So that means that you can get, let's say, this program that gives you maybe is 3% flat, and this other one may be a percentage, but that could go towards closing costs. That could happen, no? So
Correct. There are a couple of them that'll be like, okay, we're gonna fund you 100% of your down payment. It's an FHA program, 100% of your down payment, and then they're gonna say, hey, we're gonna give you 2% towards your closing cost. So just depending on your the amount of the loan, they'll give you 2% of that, and that'll go towards your closing cost.
So straight up, Martin, what are some of the drawbacks or some of the disadvantages of getting a down payment assistance program where you will need to come up less out of pocket?
One thing about down payment assistance programs or down payment assistance programs, your rates are going to be higher because your rates are based on your risk of the loan. Since, like for my example, my client just brought in just basically bought a house for $450. They could just run away and they really did not spend that much. So if you bring up my rates on the CHAPA.
Okay, so we're going to go over an example, but basically, before we get higher interest rate, is there something else that's a drawback besides the interest rate?
Depending on the down payment assistance program, you do have programs like a second loan, like a second lien position. So you'll have one that's maybe a second lien position. You'll pay that during the duration, your payment period, or it can be a silent second.
On my end, what I've seen sometimes is that they request, because now you have another set of eyes that have to go through the loan. So sometimes we can't do a normal closing in 30 days. It has to be 45 days. So then as an agent, you have to kind of account for that in the negotiation. Some, they want to close faster, and sometimes it's a disadvantage to have to need more time for underwriting, because not only does the original lender have to okay it, whoever's providing that assistance financing also has to underwrite that.
I don't know what lenders you're using, but the thing is, when I look for a lender, since I'm a mortgage broker, I work with 45 different lenders. One thing about some of these lenders that I have and that I look for, one of their criteria that I look for is that they're direct lenders. Like one of my lenders, they're a direct lender to CHAPA, which is a very popular loan in Colorado, and they underwrite for CHAPA at the same time they're underwriting for the loan. So there's no second eyes on that loan. I have another lender that does a grant program. All they do is just underwrite the whole entire loan. And once it gets approved, they'll actually order the grant. It's not a second. That's criteria that I look for, but I do know there are lenders out there that once they underwrite the loan, have it clear to close, they have to package that up and then send it to an organization like CHAPA or like Check.
Sometimes there's these local or programs they're very specific to a county or to a city or for a specific use. that kind of want to have that review.
Correct. There's I know there's a couple of city grants that
Hmm.
help out. And yes, those are like second eyes as far as
Another thing that I've seen as a potential disadvantage is if that it could be is if because I've gone through it when they require like a copy of the inspection report, which normally that's not required for the lender, but some of these programs, some specific cities I'm not going to mention that do request a copy of the inspection, which I've gone through it to where they kind of go through it with every little thing, and there might be some things in which they want a quote from a contractor to fix something that's very insignificant or very small. That like if it's under $50 repair, they're not even going to go out. They're going to charge more than that just to go out there, much less to say, well, I'm going to provide a quote for something like that. So, anyways, there's just a few other things other than uh, the potential hit, and I'm going to say potential because it's not absolute, on the interest rate. But even then, that's why it's so important to have the guidance from a lender as experience to kind of weigh out the differences because there are differences between not only the first mortgage but also the down payment programs. So one of the things that we talked about is Jaffa. So let's bring up this table that you were sharing with me earlier before we're offline. Uh, Talk me through it, man, to kind of explain the differences on no DPA and what the plus grant and the plus second mean plus
well,
just the product.
when it says no DPA, that means no down payment assistance. So that'll be like a regular loan, regular chapter loan, regular conventional loan. Interest rates will be a little bit higher once we do start looking at. If you go to the middle, the plus grant, you'll see in the FHA column, the plus grant starts at 7.875. It, like I said, that goes back to risk. Your interest rate is based on risk. So if you're getting a grant, you're basically getting free money. They're gonna adjust that free money in your interest rate. Because right now, if I were to look at interest rates for regular FHA, it's going to be lower than that. Also with Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, the two top columns, interest rates are a little bit higher, but you are getting down payment assistance with those, but those are silent seconds. The risk is a little bit less because now instead of a grant, free money, they're putting a second lien on the house, which you don't have to pay. Silent seconds, basically, you don't have to pay during the duration. The only time you ever pay that back is during a refinance or you sell a house.
Which something to pay attention because if let's say they're buying right now at a higher interest rate and rates do eventually come down, they're talking about that for months now,
Mhm.
and eventually the Fed does decide to cut the rates and that trickles down to eventually hitting affecting the mortgages. Then people they're going to start to think, well, it's time to refinance. Well, pay attention to the what you had. If you had a silent second, you had a forgivable, or if it wasn't, because they may have to pay some of that back. So something to just pay attention to. But one of the things I'm seeing here is basically the plus side of not having to put out, let's say, like $15,000 to $20,000 or more out of pocket, or having a little bit of a higher payment. Is it
Correct.
kind
Yeah,
of basically what it comes down to, or
you're absolutely correct. I've even had people who had the money for the down payment, but said, "Hey, I need the down payment assistance because I need to furnish this house that I just purchased."
right,
So
right,
they're like, "Hey, you know what? Let's go for the down payment assistance because I'm going to need."
right,
Even though I have a down payment, hey, you know what? I need to furnish this new house. I
right.
need to, I did have a couple that was just having a baby about a month after we closed and needed to furnish a brand new house coming from an apartment.
Yeah. Plus, if you
Uh,
look at it, the cost of getting that secondary financing that may be amortized over 30 years versus a simple interest rate on a high interest credit card, right? It's a lot cheaper to go around, to do it this way.
Definitely. And you hear all over the radio, huh? Best way to you should always be buying a house. Your goal should be buying a house.
Yeah. So
If we could do that for you now, we could definitely help you out.
so one of the things, just lessons here. And again, if you guys have any comments, always chat, hit us up, send us a text. We can see the comments here on the whether you're on Facebook or YouTube to address that. And we're live, so that's why it's like if we mess up or whatever. Hey, man, that's the way it turned out. Um, you have conventional as well as FHA products that can use down payment assistance, and it makes a difference because does this affect mortgage insurance when you have an FHA backed, like programmed or conventional, or does it still apply where you have mortgage insurance regardless?
Well, no matter what, you're not putting 20% down, so you're going to have mortgage insurance no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
With the Home Ready, Home Possible program, depending on, again, credit, things of that nature, your mortgage insurance is going to be less than what your FHA would be. No matter what, FHA does require mortgage insurance. But again, like down the road, once you get a little bit of equity, we could look at always visit your loan again and maybe refinance.
Yeah, and if you see this rates, and I'm going to go ahead and close this out, it is rates as of May 8th, which is today. So this is again live, and obviously you look at this down the road, it won't be live anymore. But it gives you an idea of kind of where things are at with down payment assistance programs. And then rates had been an uptick here lately. It's always good to just pay attention to where things are at regarding interest rates, right?
Correct. You always want to just every 6 months I try to connect back with my clients and ask them see how things are going, see what we could do to either refinance or just to visit and see if anything's changed.
Right. Man, where we went over the 20 minutes here. Anything else for anybody watching this to consider as far as down payment assistance programs? I'll just say that one is yes, but a lot of these are available for first-time home buyers, but they're not exclusive to first-time home buyers. Some of them, anyways. One other thing we didn't talk about, Martin, was about potentially you more than likely have to take a home buyer class to have some of this, right?
So yeah, all these down payment programs, you do need to take a class. It's anywhere from a 6 to 8 hour class, and then you need your exit exam. That certificate that you get lasts for about a year.
Yeah.
So
as a former housing counselor and worked through this, anybody can take those classes and get that certificate. Just information, education you get is worthwhile. Your time investment, because that's all there is to it. Man, I think it's a great topic. I think it's necessary to take advantage of these programs. All of these are funded by either private, nonprofits, semi-governmental. Take advantage of them, right?
Oh, definitely. So the big myth that I always hear a lot is that you need 20% down. No, you don't need 20% down. Sit down with your loan officer and try to figure out. And if you're serious about buying a house, let's work out things with the realtor and with yourself and the lender and make things happen for you.
Right on. Hey, man, thanks again for your time. Hopefully it was worth it for those of you watching. Get a hold of us, say hi, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Have a good day. Go Nuggets.